Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm afraid we're going to start a couple of minutes early because there are people standing and we don't want to delay the matter just for the sake of waiting exactly for 8 o'clock. But just before I start, I've got to remind you on behalf of our friends at Health and Safety that there are in fact 2 exits from this hall. The main stairs you came up, and through this door there's an external staircase as well. The 2 candidates have tossed up, and David Johnson will be speaking first. Each candidate will speak for about 10 minutes, and if they're still speaking after 9.5 minutes, Sue will ding the bell just to remind them that they've only got another 30 seconds or so. If you're asked to pose a question, please stand up and give your name first and speak as loud as you can and not too quickly so that everybody can hear what the question is. As I say, we aim to end at about 9:30, and just before then, if we've got a suitable time, each candidate will have another 3 minutes just to wind up and give you his final message. So the timetable may be a bit flexible, but let's see how it goes. Okay, so we'll kick off first. David Johnson.
Let's check this is working. Yes. Mr. Procureur, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and it's good to see that democracy is alive and well, at least in St Mary. Hopefully, most of you already know me. I am David Johnson, and I am honoured to be standing for deputy in this parish. By way of brief background, I was born in Southport, Lancashire, and educated mainly in North Yorkshire. At the time of my A-levels, I decided my choice of career lay between being a lawyer or an army officer. I chose the law and duly entered into a training contract with a firm of solicitors. At the same time, I was able to satisfy my military ambitions by joining the local TA regiment where I was commissioned. I duly qualified as a solicitor, and 3 years later, I came to Jersey. That was 40 years ago. During that time, I've held positions of significant responsibility, ranging from a partner in a major law firm, private practice, and I've also held many positions as director and trustee. My wife Sarah and I came to St Mary 25 years ago, and we now live in the same house that we did then, with no intention of ever leaving. Unfortunately, my children seem to think the same thing. Why am I standing? First, my service as TA officer hopefully gives you an indication that I am familiar with the concept of service to the community, and it's only unfortunate I've not been able to carry that through as much as I would like in recent years. When I moved to the parish, I was a partner in a major law firm. I have 4 children under 8, and quite simply, there wasn't enough time to hold down a voluntary appointment which required regular attendance. I did, so to speak, keep my hand in by doing fairly modest contributions to charities such as Help the Heroes and Mind, and on a local level, I made some minor contribution to the St Mary's Antique Fair, where my wife has assisted. Now I'm retired, I'm able to commit myself to a role much more substantial. If I made the stage quote from my election leaflet, these appointments, those are my legal appointments, have provided me with the ability to listen and consider views of all parties and to make independent and impartial decisions for the benefit of those I serve. So yes, that's a fairly good job description for a states member. I believe I had the necessary CV to take that on. In my election literature, you'll see that I've referred myself as being conservative, consistent, committed. What do I mean by these? Conservative, obviously, I'm not too inclined to change where a system is working well. That said, I'm not averse to change, and indeed, laws need to be reviewed regularly and continually updated to meet the changing needs of society. Consistent. I have my own values and my own views. I will not chop and change them just for the sake of cheap political gain. Again, don't have a closed mind, and I consider that the very essence of the role of a deputy is to listen to debate and from them make informed decisions as to the best course forward. Again, I'm happy to make the decisions in the interest of the parish. Committed. I would not be standing as I could devote myself wholly to the role of a deputy. That is what I would do. In the time available, it's not possible, obviously, to cover all issues which might come before the state in the next 3 or 4 years. I do therefore refer to just a few. Beginning with parish matters, the problem over the years, the main problem over the years, has a deputy with traffic, with which you're all familiar. That is now business in hand, so to speak, and I think my role, if elected deputy, would be to sit on the project board and hear representations from you all and put the representations to them. In the meantime, be aware that there's a presentation in the parish hall, community centre on the 8th of October, which I'm sure the constable and others will be delighted to see you. The environment. We are fortunate in this area that we live in the parish which has the least built-up area. I think it equates to about 16%. I wish that to remain so, and I will therefore oppose any development of greenfield sites or anything which would militate against our countryside and coastal walks. My next topic is a little different. It is the green paper on property tax. This was published at the same time as the budget statement and has therefore perhaps not had the publicity it deserves. Amongst the recommendations are a consideration of these, or a complete overhaul of the rate system. This concerns me on 2 points in particular. First, an overhaul means greater amounts available for each of us. I'm more particularly concerned for those of you, or those of us, who are perhaps on pensions, on limited means, and have specifically bought a property to take them through their later years and will simply not be in a position to afford any increase. The other aspect of this property review is that if there is to be such a review, who is going to carry out the future assessments? Is it going to be centralised? If so, will that not represent a severe blow to the honourary system? And an expensive one too. My next topic will be state expenditure. I've read through many reports of the Controller and Auditor General which identify possible areas for saving, criticise areas where there have not been, and say where more could be done. That is the point, more could be done, and if elected, and I was put on one of the scrutiny panels, I will be determined to ensure that more emphasis and more action is taken on such reports. Finally, I refer to our 3 major industries. Starting with finance, this has suffered a setback over the last few years, but it still remains the bedrock of our prosperity, with over 12,000 employed in the sector, and it represents 40% of our economic activity. It is crucial, therefore, that states members are aware of the concerns of the industry, and I believe that, having regard to my background, I'm well qualified to advise on that. Agriculture, again, one of our main industries, and apart from the industrial side, it is to be noted that agricultural land represents, I think, 57% of the total area. It is part of our way of life. My major concern here is that with the main crop being potatoes and with the 2 main producers now being resident offshore, that might cause concerns for our farming population in the future. This is a matter which must be kept on under review. Finally, tourism. I was pleased to note in today's paper that this appears to be on the up, albeit slightly. Nevertheless, greater measures need to be taken to attract tourists, to provide more all-weather facilities, and in that connection, I was delighted to see that the proposals for Fort Regent are in place, albeit somewhat visionary. My concern there is that budget restrictions might restrict them somewhat. Also on the same theme, I believe much more can be done to attract sports tourism. As I say, I cannot possibly cover all issues which will concern you in this brief address. In my leaflet, I do invite you to contact me either by email or phone if you have any areas of concern. I would be pleased to speak to you over the telephone or in person on them. Also, I'm sure your own questions will raise many more. Finally, there's a lot of mention in the press of the lack of connection between the electorate and the states. Seeing you all here tonight, there is, I think, a great connection between the electorate and the states. And I do urge you, whoever is elected deputy, to continue that theme after the election and contact them so that whoever is elected can better represent you in the states. Thank you.
Good evening. It's wonderful to see so many people in the parish hall tonight. Very rare that happens on the assemblies. Right, my name's Mark Evans and I'm 48. I'm married to Madeline and we've been in St Mary's for 17 years. I've lived and worked and actually served in the parish ever since then. For those that don't know me, I'm huntsman to the Jersey Draghounds and I'm also clerk of the course the Jersey Race Club up at Lelond. I decided to put my name forward for deputy after I was asked to stand by a number of parishioners. I was humbled when they said I had a level head and the ability to listen to people. 14 years ago, I was asked by one of the centenaries at the time to join St Mary's Ordinary Police. I decided to do this as it gave me an opening to help the parish. I've made my way through the ranks. I've been the centenary for 10 years and chef de police for the last 7 years. I'm proud to have worked with a great team of officers and I'm pleased to have keeping the parish a safe one while we've been doing it. Having been your chef de police for a number of years, I'd like to serve the parish now in a different capacity. From speaking to many of you on the doorstep, it still seems to be the main issue of the parish is speed. Through my current role, I work very closely with the present constable. We've worked hard on Bethlehem Junction with great success. And I believe now that the new traffic calming plans are near completion. We have met most weeks during my term of 7 years as constable. We meet every week to have parish meetings. If I'm elected, I would still expect to work closely with the newly elected constable and other parish committees. My main focus on the state's issues are state spending, healthcare and education. Public spending has to be controlled. We need to make difficult decisions over the next few years as we recover from the recession. We have seen from the budget that was passed a matter of weeks ago that tough decisions are having to be made as we have an income shortfall. In order to prevent raising taxes, we must concentrate public spending on key areas such as health, where costs need to be prioritised in order to ensure that we go to the staff on the front line and not into middle management. However, this is only a limb of the solution. As well as ensuring that our government is running things more tightly, we need to ensure that they are helping the small employer. I'm on the opinion that if there was less red tape for small businesses, then this would help with the income shortfall, and it would also lead to a greater employment level across the community. It should not be forgotten that the role of tourism plays in our future. Yes, we have to promote the finance industry, but we can't forget about tourism. We need to stop sitting on the Tourism Development Fund and start getting that out to the people to the companies that will bring more people into our island. Event-led tourism has shown great success in the last few years, and this should be encouraged for the future with other events. A great debate needs to take place on healthcare. We have an ever-aging population, and and a new hospital pending. It is vitally important that questions are asked about the expenditure involved in the service and funding required for the present and future requirements. We need this new hospital to be put in the right place. I'm not in favour of it being split into two places. It doesn't make sense. I mean, you know, you have treatment in one hospital and then you'll get moved to another hospital until you fit and ready to move. It's not right. There's more to life than accountancy and trust administration. And not everybody can or wants to do these jobs. So why don't we train our own nurses instead of getting agency nurses in? This point regarding the stability of training leads me nicely onto education. Naturally, everybody wants to see the best facilities, educators and vocational opportunities offered to our youngsters. And I think that cuts aimed at education should be possibly ring-fenced. Only last week in the JEP, our education system was labelled as a disgrace. So it seems to me therefore that things should be not cutting funds to education. I've never understood why the states have not been braver and more initiative towards education. Why we're following the UK. We have a skills shortage in Jersey, and this should be leading us to increase the demands for uncontrollable immigration in the island. One way we can control it is by teaching vocationals to our youngsters in school. Let's start our vacation education sooner and make sure it goes further. We need to consider immigration numbers as employment on the island is high. Question the welfare system needs. We must carefully manage immigration to achieve a balance. We always need workers from outside to come into the island. We will always need them. But what do? We put a cap on it and give them work permits. We need to provide adequate housing for young families in both the rental and private market. It is important that local families can find affordable home in their island. We also need to support the ageing population. They've worked hard and paid their taxes. They should be able to have a reasonable lifestyle. It's very difficult to outline why I'm standing for deputy and my visions in such a short time of minutes. But I hope that I have managed to give you a flavour of my beliefs and why I would like to be your deputy. I believe that the duty of the deputy is to provide a real voice to parishioners and to be a voice of reason to benefit of all islanders in the States. As a lot of you already know, I'm always around the parish, and you can always contact me on the telephone to help with your problems at any time. So Mary means a lot to me, and I love the way of life we have in our parish. And I hope from what you have heard of me that I'm worthy of your consideration of your vote on October 15th. Thank you.
Now it's your turn. Now, who wants to ask the first question? On the left.
My first question to you, gentlemen, is how many parish assemblies have you attended in the last 12 months?
Right, we'll all ask to reply alternatively. I'll answer this question first, then move on to the next.
Mr. Warren, I think I've actually missed one in probably the last few years actually, and I've been off the island. I tend to try to get to all our parish assemblies. It's up to the parishioners to make the decisions on what happens in our parish. We decide on what we spend our money on the rates, and it's up to us to decide. So the parish assemblies are very important to attend.
The short answer is I'm not too sure. I certainly attended the last one, well not the last one, the one where we approved the annual accounts, which I think is the main one. There are others I do try and attend. There are others where it is simply approval for a licensing thing. And I have other things to do. I don't necessarily get the time to do so. But that's all I can say. Where I think they are important, I will attend.
Next question. Don't be shy. This is your chance. There's nearly 90 people in the room, which is nearly 4 times the earlier number 2. Jeremy.
Yes, according to a recent article in the Jersey Evening Post, the Green Paper, which was mentioned, as well as dealing with the possible revision of the rates, also floats various ideas about capital taxation. I'm wondering what the candidates' views on those suggestions are.
Thank you for that. Yes, going back to the Green Paper in its totality, it is a consultation document. We are asked to submit our responses by the end of the year, and that is one aspect. Capital taxation, it would be a first not to have any form of capital gains tax in Jersey on anything. Against that, well, let's say this, obviously land developers are going to pay their tax on the income because they would regard it as trading in that. But as far as pure capital taxation on a one-off, I think it is something which should be considered possibly. Certainly if the land is not within the curtilage of an existing dwelling house. But again, I'd say it is a big document, it's a very comprehensive document with a lot there to be considered, and I think it's just one aspect which I for one would like to see other people's representations as well before making a final decision.
Yes, I've actually tried to read this document and it's huge. I've read pretty much most of it, but I haven't got that far, so I can't really answer your question on that one. Sorry, Mr. Holmes. Apologies.
Next.
Adrian Darnell. I'd like to ask, what are the candidates' views on the way we seem to be drifting into ministerial government?
Mr. Goodell, where we're drifting, I don't see the party politics form coming on just yet. I think we're going to be drifting into the area where we'll be getting an area or an island-wide vote for all deputies, if that's what of any help. That's about my answer, sorry.
Good evening. You say we are drifting into ministerial government. I think we actually have drifted, have we not? The question is, how successful is it? Getting better, I think, is the answer. I know there are those who believe that control of the whole government is within a hierarchy of 3 or 4 ministers. Perhaps that's not unusual. If you look at the UK, the 4 main offices hold greater sway. What I do agree is that there should be more participation by both the other ministers within the council and other, what I call backbench MPs or members. Further, I think when I read Clothier, my understanding or my interpretation was that in putting forward the scrutiny panels, he was not suggesting that they should be a de facto opposition. He was envisaging an element of cooperation between ministers and scrutiny at some time, and at an earlier time than is now the situation. It appears to be that a lot of the hassle and venom would go out of politics if that did take place, i.e. more consultation between ministers and the other 6 members before they get to the position of putting forward a proposition, being embarrassed by it and maybe having to do a U-turn. I think, back to your original point, I think the government is here to stay. This question, how can we improve it?
Next question, please. Yes, Terry.
Evening, Terry Renner. The states have recently passed legislation making it illegal to discriminate against a person on grounds of race. I'm a Jerseyman of a multi-generational Jersey family, like many people in the audience tonight. We all suffer discrimination by virtue of having a statement in our passport. We have no right to live and work in the EU. This is going to have a knock-on effect on many of the younger people and forthcoming generations who cannot afford to live in the island because of the cost of housing. If elected, I'd like to ask the candidates what they propose to do to ensure that this discriminatory practice is stopped as quickly as possible.
Yes, I agree, it is an anomaly, affecting probably a reduced number of people each time. I think you have to go back 3 generations of pure Jersey, don't you, before you're disenfranchised.
There are a few of us around, but not all in the zoo.
Sorry? Not belittling it is a problem. I think this came out during the time of Frank Walker's premiership, if we can call it that, and he believed that there was much more at stake than within the European negotiations than would be achieved if he put that in, because it would upset such negotiations. I don't think it's a miracle cure. I certainly think it needs to be looked at. I have been told that in practice there have been no actual circumstances where third generation person has been turned away. Long may that continue, but I accept the anomaly. It's perhaps something which should be recognised and remedied, but I fear we might be in a trade-off situation with other matters.
Mr. Reynolds, I've never been able to understand that. We can import foreign workers into this island and our local children cannot go into Europe and work. What we can do about it, I don't know until I get into the States and follow that through, but I do think it's pretty disgusting. Like you say, it is expensive for our children to live and work over here. Why shouldn't they be allowed to go into Europe and work?
Glenn Bauer, what are your views on constables and deputy roles in the future changing? Constables out of states and parishes sharing deputies?
Mr. Bauer, I'm actually for the constable staying in the States. I think they're the grassroots of the parish. Parishioners come to the parish hall, they want to speak to the constable, and I believe the constable should be in the States. I think the deputies will probably go into an area or an island-wide vote, but I think the constable should be in the States, and then they'll take the parishioners' views as to whether they go on big committees and stay on committees, or whether they should come back to the parish. That's for everybody's different opinion. My opinion is that they would come back to the parish and monitor the parish, but I do believe they should be in the States for the parishioner.
What about the deputies?
The deputies will either go into a parish, into an area, which I think was Area 5, which consists of 4 deputies, or it will be an island-wide vote. So everybody gets to vote for their be a bit like senatorial deputies will be.
I have to acknowledge that it is difficult to defend a deputy for this parish of 1,300 people when there's one deputy for, say, 3,000 in another parish. Much I would like to be deputy for this parish and remain so. 2 or 3 years ago, well, no less than that, wasn't it? The propositions put to the referendum were the 3 choices. 2 of them did put St Mary in a quote super constituency along with St Lawrence, St John. If that had happened today, I for one I would be happy to have stood, and I would hope that parochialism wouldn't take over. I would hope that St John people might vote for me, just as St Mary people might vote for the Count of St John. I think that is where we are leading on the deputy side of things. That said, it has to go hand in hand with what happens to the constable, because above all, it is imperative, I say imperative, that each parish has its own representative in the States in some form. If it's not to be the deputy, it must be the constable. Interestingly, again, going back to the consultative document on property reform, there is reference there to this reform taking place only in consultation with the constables. Should the constables not be in the States, what sort of bargaining power would they have? I agree with Mark, and I was on record the other day on the radio as saying I've supported the retention of constables in the States for that very reason. And I sense that the strength of constables in the States will probably outweigh that for the deputies. But I would still hope to be there.
Okay. Next. Then it will be shown.
Morris Barrington. How would the candidates vote if they were asked to increase GST, especially on food? Would they vote for or against?
I don't wish to be political and evade the question, but it might depend on the level of increase. Some years ago, this was a main topic about GST and the need for many exemptions. At that stage, I was firmly against exemptions, on the strict basis that the whole purpose of GST is to raise revenue. If you create a tax and have exemptions, the cost of administering that exemption limit outweighs the benefit. So on that basis, hard as it might be, I was not in favour of any exemptions. I appreciate it might cause hardship to some, but on that basis, the hardship should be rectified by additional income benefits to them. If GST was raised, yes, I would have to give some thought, depending on the level. I think generally speaking, the 5% we have today is amongst the lowest of all countries in the world that operate a similar system. I would be torn. If it was a substantial increase, there is a greater case for making an exemption.
Thank you. I actually looked into whether you could take GST off food and heating fuel, and it worked out the administration of it would not be possible. The cost would just outweigh the benefit of it. No, I don't think we should increase GST. I think 5% is plenty. There is talk that it may go to 7. I forget the reason behind what they're telling me, but no, I would vote for 5% to stay there. I think that's enough.
Next question, please.
I asked the panel, what are we going to do about buses coming backwards and forwards from the bus station to here, especially late at night, because they're young teenagers that literally have to pay so much money for taxis, which they just can't afford, and yet there's no viable transport to get them home. And so I'm now asking both of you, what is the remedy for this?
Mrs. Johnson. Right, the buses are poor, especially late at night. I'm not too sure what time our last one is coming back, but from what I can get off my neighbours who come from town, 11 o'clock-ish, there is no sort of buses. Friday and Saturday, that's the last, yeah. There is talk of a community bus service going around between here and St Lawrence, and I believe that's been looked into, where they would be sort of doing a round, but as to what times they're coming back, I don't know. We will try to get more buses. What they say is that we're not filling the buses. That seems to be the major problem. They're sending buses out and it could be completely empty, or you could have 1 or 2 people on. And it's the cost of it, basically. That's where they're going.
I'm not sure why my wife didn't ask me this question at home. Yeah, it is, we know from our own children the cost of getting home after a certain time of night is heavy, and as Mark says, if bus services stop at a certain time, what option is there other than expensive taxis, unless you hitchhike or risk that? Agreed. It should be looked into, I say it, I mean, community bus services, each parish may be, but at the end of the day, it is going to depend on demand. It can't have a service for nothing, and they're encouraged to use it, and I would have thought that, a few £20 to an area would go a long way towards making it profitable. I would think there's a lot of merit in pursuing the idea of some sort of community bus service on Friday, Saturday, maybe in conjunction with neighbouring parishes like St John, to alleviate the load on these youngsters.
Any more questions? We have one lady asking a question, I find her not usually that quiet.
Gordon Perroway. In the light of a lot of first-time buyers coming up in the parish, where would candidates propose to find them homes in their own parish?
I'm honestly not sure. I don't know. As I said in my speech, I'm against development or greenfield sites development. The most recent development was, I think, one where there have been greenhouses, and I don't think there are many other sites like that. It will be a question of trawling the island, finding a willing buyer, a willing seller maybe, and maybe some land which is not particularly of good value agriculturally, but it is a problem, I accept that.
Mr. Hervey, unfortunately I can't find any spot in some areas that we could put a development for housing. There's houses planned to go on the hotel site on the corner, Westview. I believe that's only about 5 houses, they'll all be first-time buyers. It's a shame that we couldn't do a scheme like Trinity, where the parish actually bought some land and did it that way. It's similar to what we did by the back of the pub a few years ago, but unfortunately we didn't put restrictions on them, and some of those went within a matter of weeks. People had them and then they sold them too quick, which was a bit unfair. We should have had restrictions on it. It'd be lovely to see local families in the parish. I quite agree. As a site, you got one? You've got lots of land.
Next question, please. Yes, gentleman at the back.
In light of the fact that we have this shortage of housing over here, do you think it's appropriate that sort of, people have to only 10 years to sort of, become qualified over here, whereas before it was significantly more than that? And would we look at re-increasing that?
No, I wouldn't look at an increase in that. I think if they've been here for 10 years paying rent and their taxes because they're working, then they have every right to start buying their home. At that sort of stage, I think you'll find that most people have been rented for that length of time wouldn't bother buying their home. They're quite happy where they are. But I found it would be hard if they did. And to be honest, first-time buyers' homes in Jersey, 450,000 at least. I don't think they will. I think they'll stay on their rented accommodation.
The question is, should we go back to increasing the length of career before which you can buy a house? I think not. I think 10 years is probably a fair balance. Balance, as always, in the politician is the watchword. And I think 10 is probably about right, as market conditions are.
Anybody else, please? There's your last chance, perhaps? No? Well, in that case,
if elected as deputy, if a lot of the deputies throughout all the parishes are out of touch with the community they live in, would you consider, like maybe the MPs do in the UK in their constituencies, they have an open surgery once a month or every 2 months or so, just for people to call in, have a cup of tea, or and just discuss any issues they may have?
Not only considering how we welcome it. I think MPs at Westminster regularly go up to their constituencies and have surgeries. Yeah, I would welcome it. Not try to insist on it, depends on the constable day. And if it could be done in the parish hall, so be it. Somewhere, yes, I think that was important. With an element of privacy, preferably, because there might be something which might have some difficulty in discussing the problem openly. Yes, good idea.
As I said in my opening speech, I have a meeting once a week with the constable at Sheffield Police. So I'm always here on a Friday at the moment. And that's what I'd like to intend to do, continuous. if I get in, then I'd like to be here on Friday morning so parishioners know where to find you. You might not be doing very much, but you know, you can be waiting for parishioners to come. At least they know where you are. If you're there on Friday, the parishioners can come to the parish hall and they can have a chat with you and let you know what the problems are.
Anybody else, please? No? Well, if nobody else has got any questions, I'll then ask the candidates to speak for about 3 minutes so they can give you their final words of wisdom, and then after that we can all go home. Now, who's started this initiative? Perhaps you have
Thank you. What benefits have I got for being your deputy? Well, as chef of police, I have to make decisions there and then. So you have to make decisions on the spot. You have to assess the situations. You have to read the evidence. Everything that you do as a centenaire is what a politician should be doing. He should be gathering all the evidence and using that for his benefit. I deal with tourists up at the racecourse. There are a lot of tourists that come over. I hear what they have to say. I deal with firearms with the only police. I deal with the court cases, so home affairs would be a good idea. TTS, I've worked on the roads system in the parish. I've worked on different areas of it. There's lots of things in my past that would benefit being in the States. I'm a working man. I don't come from an accountancy or a law firm. I'm on the ground. Anybody that knows me who has been at the racecourse and seen what happens up there will know I work 7 days a week. I'm not one for taking a lot of time off, unfortunately. My wife is not very happy with it, but that's the way I've always been taught. I've left school at 16, I've worked every day of my life. I don't agree with people getting money for nothing. There's been no questions on that. But the people that are on unemployment, unfortunately we need to sort something out for them, whether it be employers encouraging them to go back to work or whatever. But my idea is that we should be there for the parishioners, and I hope to do that for you if I'm elected. Thank you very much.
I go back to the 3 words in my manifesto: conservative, consistent, committed. Taking the last one first, committed. I hear what Mark says. I no doubt he does work hard. Over the years I have done too. In fact, it's been criticised of my family that I work too hard. That said, I have that pedigree that I will not confine myself to ordinary working hours. I have no other major activity at present. As I said before, I will devote wholeheartedly my time to serving you as deputy if so elected. I hope you will bear that in mind, and again, perhaps you could bear me in mind on 15th October. Thank you.
Well, I think that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Just be reminded, don't forget, election day is on the 15th of October. We will be here from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. And we hope not only to see 90 people present, but rather more than that. So if you make sure your wives, friends, neighbours, whatever, do come and vote. It's your chance to make a difference. Thank you very much indeed for your attendance. I wish you a safe journey home.